know you're happy living in your liberal elite world of London, but for us, the countryside is the countryside. It's where our food comes from, James.
So you've been offered.
You seem to have forgotten that.
You
seem to have forgotten that, haven't you, James?
Charlie, you
can't
don't.
accept it.
Okay, mate. I'm going to have a
I'm
little.
not your mate. I hate you. I think you're an idiot.
Okay.
I think you're a lefty, liberal, woke idiot.
I just have to give you this guy's name. You're going to understand what I mean. James O'Brien. In March, he won my first ever 50 worst people in the UK list. I will be updating that in just a few weeks' time. I'm very excited. But this year, he makes number 10 on the worst of 2024 for the increasingly unhinged way that he treats the callers on his show. These are loyal people who listen to him. Dr. Renee, let's not go there, but he's looking pretty unhealthy, if you know what I mean, as well.
He looks quite angry all of the time, doesn't he?
Very angry, very red. He's very red.
Yeah.
But I'm going to show you one of the best moments where he was owned over these farmers' protests by a caller, and it was beautiful to watch.
You're shouting at me again.
Panels, we've had the offers for wind farms.
Well, there you go. Then what are you complaining about?
Because we don't want to concrete over the land. I know you're a townie. I know you're happy living in your liberal elite world of London. But for us, the countryside is the countryside. It's where our food comes from, James.
So you've been offered.
You seem to have forgotten that.
You
seem to have forgotten that, haven't you, James?
Charlie, you
can't
don't.
accept it.
Okay, mate. I'm going to have a
I'm
little.
not your mate. I hate you. I think you're an idiot.
Okay.
I think you're a lefty, liberal, woke idiot.
Okay, Charlie.
Let's tarmac the AOMBs.
Charlie.
Let's tarmac them. Yeah, get some solar farms on there. Yeah, why not, James?
I think
you probably. Hey, James, you like
Charlie,
immigrants. You probably want to see some homes there as well, don't you?
Well, down with homes.
When was the last time you went to a farm?
I grew up on a working farm. I probably should have mentioned that sooner. I grew up just outside Kidderminster in Worcestershire. The farmers are all around Chaddesley, Corbett, and that area.
So what? Your dad was a farmer?
Absolutely. No, I've explained several. Do you listen to this program?
So when you? No, I don't.
Well, how can you have such strong?
I think you're an idiot.
How can you have such strong views about me then?
Because the few times I have listened to you, I heard how you speak to people. You talk over them and cut them off, like you've done to me.
Down with that sort of thing, Charlie?
You are down with that, I know. That's what you love.
I mean down with talking over people and shouting at them.
Oh, I'll shout at you. I'll give you everything that you try and give me.
I've tried to give you a fair hearing.
You haven't. You haven't at all.
Okay.
I pointed the facts to you and you won't accept it.
Okay.
You know nothing, James. Stick in your London liberal lefty wokeism. You know nothing about farming.
Know from your time on Talk that James was giving that little message to the producers saying, turn this guy down, he's owning me, I've got to get him off, which is why his voice faded out at the end there, because James O'Brien actually can't handle it when someone brings him the truth.
No, but they never can they? Because they're so righteous in their lefty, wokey, liberal ideas that they really do believe that anyone who doesn't agree with them is stupid. Really, that's what it is.
Yeah. I mean, Bernie, I believe that James O'Brien is a really nefarious force for this country. Do you know, there was an investigation this year showing that he's had something like 900 complaints to the government since as the off-communist, and they have chosen not to investigate him once. And that just shows you, doesn't it, the complete two-tier treatment compared to how the off-communists overly regulate GB News, for example.
Absolutely, because he's on their side. He's parroting their narrative. He did exactly the same thing during Brexit. And for me, I don't think James O'Brien has any intellectual neutrality. He has no emotional intelligence because he's unable to see any kind of opposing view at all or listen to anybody else's arguments. I mean, I phoned up his show during Brexit because I hadn't told anyone how I voted, and I could answer both sides of that argument, and he wouldn't take my call and then just block me. Really? Ridiculous. It really is ridiculous. But because he's on the side of the narrative, he thinks he's, anti-establishment and he's all cool and down with it. But he just parrots everything the government wants him to say. Everything. And don't forget, this is the guy who on air suggested it would be absolutely fine if somebody wanted to go out and shoot Trump.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And there was, again, no investigation.
Not.
But I think you've just summarised, Bernie, what these people do. They accuse us all the time of trying to shut down their voice. I've been blocked by James O'Brien for probably about 3 years now after some COVID conversations that we tried to have online. He's blocked you, he's blocked me. I don't know about you, Dan, but this is what they think.
Oh, yes, I've been blocked a long time.
So we're in the James O'Brien has blocked us club for a reason, because they don't want to listen. He doesn't want to listen.
Well, because he can't actually. I'm sure there are some people that you might not agree with, but you get on with, right? You can have a conversation with them. I actually don't believe that James O'Brien has enough information about the other side of the argument to allow himself to get into a debate with anybody, because he doesn't want someone else to be right. And that is just incredibly stupid, because you don't learn anything if you close your ears to everybody else's discussion.
But that's also incredibly common in this debate, isn't it? So the people who really have the facts, and that's why he blocked me, because I had the facts about COVID and he couldn't argue with them. It's incredibly common, but also incredibly stupid, as you rightly say, because eventually the facts and the truth will win out.
But that's why these people, and, you know, James O'Brien is part of that activist club, right? So because they can't fight with you on the facts because you're right, what they do is they wait for the slightest little mistake and then destroy you. Just do whatever they can to destroy you for a mistake. I don't think James O'Brien ever putting his hand up and saying, "Oh, I was actually wrong about believing that guy who said there was a paedophile ring."
Cal Beach.
He never said that.
Exactly. Cal Beach, one of Britain's biggest fantasists who turned out to be a paedophile. James O'Brien platformed his false story for years.
And so he made a mistake. Okay, it was a genuine mistake, but no one else is allowed to.
No, indeed.
No.
Although I would claim, Dr. Renee, though, his genuine mistake was clouded by political ideology, because actually he wants to destroy his enemies. He wants to silence his enemies. He doesn't believe people like us should even have a platform. It's chilling. This guy is actually authoritarian in his approach.
Absolutely.
They're authoritarian, but there's also an intellectual snobbery.
Oh, yeah.
There's an intellectual snobbery that we can't possibly think this way and be intelligent. Those two things don't go together in their mind.
Absolutely true. Absolutely true. And I've spoken to many people about that. In fact, it isn't James O'Brien, but I know that they are perhaps good friends. If you don't have a degree, you shouldn't be allowed to vote. What?
Yes.
So if you've got a degree in English, you shouldn't be allowed to vote because you're more intellectually superior than the bloke who's worked on the docks for 40 years and knows everything about that subject. He can't have a voice, but you can because you've got a degree in English. Well done.
Well, of course, because James O'Brien's fundamental argument, the same as Alistair Campbell, is that if you were stupid enough to vote for Brexit, you didn't understand what you did. And you just didn't get it. It's not that you believed in it, you were too stupid.
And it will be exactly the same on the net zero argument as it was on the COVID argument. They will just close everything down.
Indeed, indeed.
I'm quite happy to be in this stupid club, though, aren't you?
Oh, big time. Big time. And I just keep saying, oh, just please go off to this sly thing that they talk about. Just go. That's absolutely fine. I don't care if you don't want to actually have a debate. You just go to a place that none of us are going to be and you'll live happily ever after.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's continue our countdown, though. At number 9, a really chilling one. Pensioner carers and Tory housewives sent to jail for posts on social media. You know, over the course of this year, I've tracked many of these cases. This was an explanation of the shocking story of Lucy Connelly.
So, Lucy's 12-year-old daughter, without her mother for up to 2.5 years. And I say anyone who thinks that Lucy should be locked up when violent men who attack women at petrol stations for not dressing conservatively enough, or when people like Hugh Edwards receive no custodial sentence for making child pornography, Well, I think if they still think Lucy Connelly should be behind bars for such an extraordinary long sentence, then they have truly lost the plot. But the sick and twisted authorities are having to come for women like Lucy, one of just 400 so-called rioters or social media criminals who are being locked up. And they're doing it because their far-right bogeyman is nothing more than a figment of the imagination.
And I've really followed Lucy's case over the past few months, Dr. Renee.
Yeah.
She's spending Christmas in jail. Her 12-year-old daughter, for whom she was the main caregiver of, is unable to be looked after by her mother. Her husband, Raymond Connelly, who gave his first interview on this show, he is a Tory councillor and he is being subjected to the most awful sort of lawfare and witch hunt by the establishment left, because they say he was wrong to say that his wife isn't racist. And I just look at that picture of Raymond, by the way, with their little boy, and we have to remember that Lucy Connelly and Raymond lost their little boy at 18 months old because of NHS failure. That is proven, Dr. Renee. That came out in the inquest. They received an apology, and that is such an obvious reason why the brutal stabbing of three young girls at a Taylor Swift dance class resulted in Lucy Connelly having a bit of an emotional breakdown where she posted an inappropriate tweet.
Look, Dan, you're absolutely right. Of course, it gives a reason to her actions, but I would actually argue that there's no evidence. We've done decades of research that tweets or written words actually make somebody pick up, you know, a box of matches and go out and do what Lucy suggested. I'm not defending her actions, but what we should be doing in this country is putting people in jail that we are scared of, not people with whom their views we find distasteful, which is what's going on here. And the problem that we have is we see week after week after week, as you rightly pointed out, paedophiles who've got pictures of newborn and very young babies being raped on their computers, not going to prison because, of course, they were only photos. And we've got Lucy, a mother, being separated from her child. And we know that the trauma that a child will face and have to deal with in life and possibly not get through life as well as she should by being separated from her mother is so immense that I think as a society we should think very, very hard before we ever separate a mother from her children. And she should only go to prison if she's physically, and I mean physically, carried out a crime that has damaged or hurt people. So this is where we're going wrong. But this wasn't about what Lucy said, was it? This was a message to everybody else. Don't you dare disagree with us. Don't you dare express your deep held concerns, which we have. I have, you have, and normal people have. We are worried about the importation of men of, 20 years old who have a very different view about what women are for into our communities, as has now been demonstrated. And Lucy is just the victim of the government trying to control people.
Absolutely. And Bernie, this one must feel pretty raw for you, given you also faced a police investigation for sending a tweet. And I mean, I hate to say it, Bernie, but you could have been like Lucy Connelly if the authoritarian police forces had got their way. But first, if you want to look sharp for all of these New Year gatherings, check out the latest masterpiece from Manscaped, the Chairman Pro Electric Foil Shaver. Trust me, this is an incredible product guiding you to smooth, irritation-free shaving. So let me dive into the goods now. The Chairman Pro is armed with not one but two interchangeable skin-safe blade heads. Think of them as your grooming superheroes. The skin-safe 4-blade foil for when you want that baby's bottom smooth, and the skin-safe stubble trimmer for when you want to keep some stubble but clean it up a bit. Both keep you looking sharp while minimizing razor burn and irritation, because no one wants to show up to a New Year's party, right? Looking like you're unshaven. But wait, there's more. The Chairman Pro has FlexJust technology, which is basically like the holiday miracle of slaving. The blades and pivoting head adjust to every curve of your face and is gentle on the neck area too. So go ahead, kiss that awkward jawline patch goodbye. And if you want even more precision, on the right side of the bracket, there's a precision lock. So when you lock it, the blade head sits firm so you can achieve a more precise shave. I use it myself and I find it very, very handy. Here's something, by the way, that will make your grooming easier too. The Chairman Pro completely waterproof, so you can use it in the shower. And the waterproof feature doesn't just make shaving easier, it also simplifies cleanup too. Just a quick rinse under the sink and you're all set. The Chairman Pro isn't just for daily shaves either. It's powerful enough to tackle up to 5-day growth, making it perfect whether you're shaving every day or just tidying up after a few days. And with up to 75 minutes of runtime on a single charge, you'll have plenty of juice to go. It even has a travel lock to help make sure it doesn't accidentally turn on in your bag, and an LED spotlight. I find this really helpful actually, because it means that you can see every detail. Get the Chairman Pro today and experience a shave that is as smooth as you deserve. It has everything you need to keep your face looking and feeling its best, all in one box. So head on over to www.manscaped.com and join the over 11 million men worldwide. I'm one of them who trust Manscaped. Just use the code Outspoken when you check out. It's incredible. You get free shipping and a mega 20% discount. So that's manscaped.com using the coupon code Outspoken. But now back to the show.
Yes, I could have. And I saw that in the interview you did with her husband, and a part of it made me cry. And it was because he said that she had been given, during your sentence, you're allowed 1 day off. And she had chosen to have a day off over Christmas, and they told her she couldn't because of the media interest. Mm-hmm. But that's outrageous, and it's so unfair. It's desperate for her daughter, her husband, and herself, because exactly as Renee says, you might find her views distasteful, but it doesn't mean her views were wrong. Thousands, millions of people in this country are ordinary and have the same views. But you see, the government has to suppress information to keep the public disarmed, right? This isn't a physical disarmament, it's a verbal disarmament. And if we remove the information, they think they can remove the speech, and it won't work. It won't work for long, but it'll work for now, because if someone like Lucy Connelly can go to prison, then it means people who want to say things about the Cresta Court Migrant Hotel, for instance, they might have some very strong views, but they're too frightened to say them because they could end up in prison like Lucy. And it's appalling. It's appalling. And I don't think it's going to change. I think it will get worse.
Yeah, no, indeed. And, you know, to Renee's point, she is spending her Christmas locked up alongside murderers. That is the reality for writing something on X. And actually, a very similar case at number 8 on our countdown on the worst of 2024. Star Daily Telegraph journalist, I think the best newspaper columnist in the country, a great friend of all of ours, Alison Pearson, investigated by police for, you guessed it, a post on X.
But as you say, Dan, it's not that funny, because I have to say it was horrible. It's my country, and we were there on Remembrance Day when, of course, we commemorate all those amazingly brave, mainly young men who gave their lives for this country so it could be free and not under the jackboot of tyranny. And here we are with 2 coppers the same age as many of those guys who gave their lives, coming to my door and in what I took as being tyrannical, really, just totally inappropriate. And as you said, I asked them, what is this hateful tweet I posted? we're not allowed to tell you who is my accuser. We're not allowed to tell you, but they are the victim, not the accuser. Doesn't sound like justice, does it, Dan?
And Bernie, your experience was obviously so shockingly similar to Alison's.
Yeah.
Worse, though, because you ended up in a police cell for nearly 3 days.
Yeah, and I think that had Alison not seen what had happened to me and had the huge outpouring of disbelief and fury from a huge section of the media and, of course, an overwhelming part of the public, then when she went for her voluntary interview, I am pretty sure they would have taken all of her devices and she could have been charged. Now, the issue that the police had with her is that they're now saying it wasn't a non-crime hate incident. They're now saying she was being investigated for a criminal offence. And she's right. The threshold for this new law that the government brought in is quite high. The problem is no one knows what it consists of. What is it that you are allowed to say or make a mistake on, or are you not? And that's why this is so insidious and it's so bad. These non-crime hate incidents, of which there are thousands, are about people being offended. Well, just because you are offended doesn't mean you're right, okay? So feeding the birds, hanging washing out on the line, they've all been reported and the police have shuffled off to investigate them to see if they can charge anyone. It's outrageous. And she's shone a light in a really wonderful way. She's incredibly articulate. She's a fantastic journalist, but she's shone a light all over the world. The rest of the world are looking at the UK like, what the hell is going on?
Well, Elon Musk, Dr. Renee, has actually described the UK as a totalitarian police state.
Well, that is where we're getting to now, isn't it? And it does, he's right, it does need to stop. The issue with all of this is that Alison, fortunately, is, as you rightly say, one of our leading columnists in this country. And so she had so much power behind her that I think in the end they probably got too scared of Alison. But for lots of ordinary people living their lives, they're not scared. And we need immediately to understand as a society that any view is a view that somebody is actually able to hold, whether we like it or not. We need to scrap this whole non-crime, hate crime thing. It shouldn't even be a thing. If it's not a crime, it doesn't need police. End of story. You don't have the right to not be offended. And, you know, people say things to me, you know, every day that I might take offence at, but that's my problem. It's no one else's. It's my issue. It's my reaction. And it's about how you deal with that reaction. The problem we have is that we're not teaching our kids at school that they might have to deal with views that they find unsavoury and how to deal with them. We don't have debate in societies anymore. We have trigger warnings all over everything. We give people support in case they go to a lecture at university that they find a little bit too challenging. This is the antithesis of breeding a healthy society. And we are seeing that now in our mental health crisis. And Alison has, as Bernie says, shone a light on this.
Thank you so much for watching Dan Wootton Outspoken. Please click on my face just to the bottom left to subscribe to this brand new independent news source and turn on the notification bell so you'll be alerted to our brand new live shows, uncancelled interviews and special royal episodes. Outspoken is also now available as a podcast, so you can listen to the show every weekday on the go wherever you are.